Then give me my piece of paper. And I think that, again, hurt us on game days. K. Bell hasn't scripted one play in the spring. He won't script a play in the fall. He is just calling it like this. And I think that's what makes great coordinators. And I never had done it until I got with D'Antonio at Michigan State, where we had called periods. And it was like, okay, I had my call sheet, but it wasn't scripted by play 1, play 2, play 3. And I think those are some of the maybe old school things that we've done that I think will really help our offense. And again, it just gives him. He's called a bunch of games, this spring.
There's a lot of discussion about roster limits and kind of what that might look like. I guess, do you have a kind of number you feel comfortable with that you feel like you guys need to be able to compete? And I guess, where do you fall on some of the scholarship limit discussion?
Yeah. They aren't going to listen to the coaches, first of all, so just stop right there, so it doesn't really matter. I'll just try to stay in my lane for the most of the time. But, I'll go back to Amelia Island when we were there. We all, as coaches said, it's 120. Like, we need 120. We have to develop our players. So I'll just, tell you how I feel, and it doesn't really matter how I feel. But, I think we need enough players to practice. And you know what? 1 year, 105 might be good. The next year, it might be awful, okay, because there's something called injuries. And if players start to opt out during the season, okay, all of a sudden you got a 4-4 team, and guys say, I'm opting out, I'm going to the NFL. All of a sudden now, not only do you have injuries, you got opt-outs because I'm going to go to the league because I'm not going to be one of the 12-team playoff teams. How's your numbers? How's that work in a bowl game when you have 32 guys opt out and you got guys injured? It's not a good thing for college football. We all like to watch the games regardless of what the records are, and you want to see your team bounce back 1 week. You want to see your team win a championship. So I worry about having too low of a number. And again, if I could guarantee everybody stays healthy, I'm good with 105. But there's no guarantees there, and everybody's going to have that year, okay, where you have some guys banged up, and it's called practice. You have to be able to practice, and you got to keep probably your 1s, 2s, and 1/2s up with the one offense. Same thing with the defense, and then you got to have enough guys after that to practice against them. And if you don't have those guys, you can't get good. You can't win football games if you can't practice. And you have to have somebody to practice against. And maybe part of the discussion would be if we go to 105 that we should start having scrimmages against other teams. Maybe I can get Duquesne and Robert Morris to have a little scrimmage, because that would help your numbers a little bit. Like, let's have some scrimmages in the spring, some scrimmages in the fall, and have a preseason game, because every time we take a snap in a practice during the fall this August, you got 22 guys out there. You got 1 out of 22. One of those 22 guys can get hurt every time. Well, if we played against somebody else, well, you got 11 guys on offense out there. Well, you only got 1 in 11. So I think those are some things that we probably need to talk about: how we're practicing, how much time we're practicing, what are we going to do during the summer, how is this going to change if our numbers are not where they need to be.
The preseason part of it, do you envision your coaching colleagues being in favor or something like that? I mean, obviously college football is the one sport that doesn't really have a preseason to it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. I think coaching, I think they would. I think a lot of guys would like to be able to do that. Something with a drivable team that you practice together, like the NFL does it. I mean, the NFL gets together and practice against teams, and you got to be smart with each other, and you want to protect each other. But it's got to be somebody you have a relationship with that you trust. To go, someone wants to, see if they can unseat you one day. It's like, come on now. But it's got to be, you got to do it together. You don't want anybody to get hurt. It would save bodies.
How tough was last year on you?
Player or coach-to-player helmet communication will impact the game offensively, defensively, quarterback on offense, and I guess linebacker maybe on defense.
Yeah, I think it's going to help the offenses more than the defense, because they control the tempo of the game. We don't know how fast they're going to go, so we don't have time to wait around and hope that one Mike linebacker that's got one earphone can tell everybody what to do. So I think that's to be seen. Again, in the NFL, they're huddling up 90% of the time. Well, 90% of the time in college football, you're in a no-huddle situation. So it's going to be more of a 2-minute situation. If you talk to NFL guys, which I have, we're going to be more like an NFL 2-minute. But you're going 2 minutes for 60 minutes. So it's a whole different deal. And that, the thing I wish we had, if we were going to go with this communications, that we're going to eliminate the signal stealing. Nobody needs to deal with what we dealt with last year. And again, there's signal stealing paranoia across the country. Not only because of last year, but it's been going on for years. That people are stealing your signals, filming your sideline, getting it for the next year. It's not the way college football is supposed to be played. The best team should win, not the team that's got more people working in the press box to steal signals.
How tough was last year on you, and how shocking was that it happened?
Nothing shocked me, but it was tough. I mean, but tough times got to happen. You got to go through some of those times like that, I think, to bounce back, to get your fire started again, I guess. But it was not a fun season. You win 20 games in 2 years, and then you go into that. But it's just one of those years that things didn't go our way, and that's not who we are. Our guys know it, and like I told those guys, our football team, sometimes you need to get punched and knocked down in the ring so that you can get back up and fight some more. And I think that's kind of the attitude we've taken.
You've gone through you've gone through 3 transfer quarterbacks in the last 2 years. How kind of ironic is it that the guy that seems to be the answer has been in the program all along?
Yeah, we've had a lot of trust. I recruited Nate personally, and I think sometimes when people don't recruit people, they think something different of them. But I recruited Nate, and I know who he is. I know who he is as a person. All along I thought he was a pretty darn good quarterback, and he could have started the last 2 years. 2 years ago he came in and after 2 quarterbacks got hurt, Western Michigan, and took that game over. And, he's a winner. That's what I think he is. And we faced him. I saw him a lot on scout team. He was our talking about practicing. He was our scout team quarterback, and I just thought he was a tough son of a gun. And and he was a competitor, and he led the scout team offense. And what does a quarterback do? He leads, and he's a competitor. They don't all have to be 6'6". They can be 6'2". The size doesn't matter. The arm strength doesn't matter. Who throws a pretty ball doesn't really matter. It's who completes the pass, and who can who on that offense. So those other 10 guys going to play for that guy. That's something I've felt for 2 years. And it's something that in the offseason I said, this is what's going to happen. He needs to have a chance to get reps. Not only did he come in and win football games, but he never got reps with the ones or the twos. He was always the scout team guy, the guy that, go ahead and get a couple reps here, but he's never been developed. So in the offseason, we've developed him, and we're going to have an even better Nate Yarnell, I think, come this season.
Been here for 10 years.
I'm going to throw this out there. Eli Holstein is a hell of a quarterback as well, and he's competing with him, and we're looking forward to watching him go as well, because don't sleep on him too, because we're going to have competition. And Nate Yarnell talked about it. We will have competition, and I think Eli and Ty Diefenbach is another guy that just keeps getting better and better.
You've been here for
last year. What did you look back on? What did you kind of pinpoint about? Okay, if we just fix this or fix that, we'll have another winning season.
One thing from last year.
Or maybe a couple.
Well, I could give you 1,000, okay, but it's probably too hard of a question to answer. But there's a bunch of things. But the first thing was making a change on offense and getting someone that our players believed in, that they're having fun playing the game of offense. That's, the offense players aren't changing that much. It's just who's leading those guys, who's got energy, who believes, and who's going to get the job done.
It won't change that much scheme-wise?
It'll change. No, that'll change. But what I'm saying is the difference is, a new leader on offense. That's the one thing that changes.
Coach, I don't know how concerned you are,